Welcome to the show. We have a special episode for you today with Jesse Watts, the executive director of the Wounded Blue. It's important and vital because he's in Minneapolis. And for context, this is in January of 2026 with all of the ICE operations and the controversy and what's occurring with leadership there in Minneapolis. We're going to get into that. But the reason I wanted to touch base with you briefly before that episode is he is literally calling us from their mobile command center, their peer command center, to help officers with their peer response team. So there's a lot of background noise. The internet wasn't great, but that's not what we care about. The information is what's important. So just know that that is kind of coming, but what you're going to hear is going to blow your mind. Here we go. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us here today. And this is an important episode. So thank you for being here. On today's show, we have Jesse Watts, retired sheriff from Eureka County, Nevada, but also the executive director of the Wounded Blue. Jesse and Randy Sutton and a group of other peers are in Minneapolis as we speak, as you're listening to this, and they're speaking to their officers on the ground. They're understanding what's going on, and we have very fortunate to have Jesse joining us from that area. Jesse Watts, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me on, Travis. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I know it's hectic out there. There's a bunch of stuff moving around, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. So I guess the first thing is tell us about the Wounded Blue and the peer network you have and why you're there in Minneapolis.
Yeah, so the Wounded Blue is the national assistance and support organization for law enforcement officers injured and disabled in the line of duty. We take care of cops that have been injured physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, you name it. Cover all parts of it. Active and retired law enforcement officers from anywhere in the country. Our motto is never forgotten, never alone, and our main mission is to make sure that we follow through with that. And they are never forgotten and never alone. Biggest component to our organization is the peer support, independent and confidential of any agency anywhere in the country. So we are a resource for law enforcement officers anywhere, anytime, 24/7 via phone call, text, email, you name it.
And so obviously you got requested to go to Minneapolis, and if you happen to run across this episode in 2027, the context is ICE immigration enforcement's going on in Minneapolis. All hell has broke loose because the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota are sanctuary cities and states. They don't cooperate with ICE, and so there's been thousands of criminals that's been on the let go of the streets. And by the way, that's not some political talk. Literally, in the records of the jails, they've arrested illegal immigrants for violent crimes and released them back on the streets of Minnesota. And so that's the ICE's mission there as we speak, to round those criminals and illegal immigrants up. And of course, obviously, it's been wildly controversial, not because of ICE, because they're doing their job as set forth by the Constitution, Jesse. It's been wildly controversial because of the leaders there in that state and city. And this is a leadership podcast. And so tell me what you're hearing from the officers. We know it's confidential, but give us a general sense of what you're hearing when you're there.
Yeah, for sure. So the number one thing is the cops are just drained. They're allotted 888 cops for full strength, and they've got just over 300.
And that's a great point, Jesse, because the politicians keep lying about that. You keep hearing them say 600 plus, and I know from my sources, not even accurate. They're counting everybody on injury leave. We're talking, if people need, they're counting the numbers. You're right. Just over 300. We've talked about this a lot on this show. Minneapolis is probably going to be the first major city to actually go bankrupt and lose their police department because of the leadership in that city. I'll let you continue.
Yeah. So we saw the roster board yesterday, and it was 888 strength and just over 300 that are calculated to the streets. That includes injured, that includes pregnant, that includes people on training leave, that includes people on ancillary duty, that includes all aspects of that. And that was as of yesterday. Now, that board has not been updated in over a month, and they had a dozen people retire, leave, walk out last week. So that doesn't include those numbers as well. Currently, there's over 100 people eligible to retire from the Minneapolis Police Department and walkouts. With that being said, that would decimate that law enforcement agency. Like I said, the guys are just drained. And the number one stressor they have is not the rhetoric from the people in the streets. It inability to do their job when they're standing there and they've been told, you can't do this, you will not do this. And then the other side of is, we are brethren in law enforcement, and not being able to protect their friends and their buddies and their brethren of ICE and Border Patrol and other things because of what negative connotation the city mayor and the state governor have dished out, and threats they've made, and it's incited these individuals from all over the country, not just Minnesota, not just Minneapolis, all over the country to come here and blow their whistles and get on the streets and get in the faces and then throw out objects at ICE and all the cops. And the number one thing that we keep hearing is we are told we can't do stuff, and that just kills us. And then the other side is the leadership, and I say that word loosely with who we're talking about. Leadership isn't listening to those that are on the ground, in the trenches, with policy on their side, tactics on their side, and experience on their side. There's a certain situation here that happened after the shooting where Minneapolis PD is there, and they've got an active scene, obviously, and protesters are there, and they're following protocols, and the chief makes the decision of, nope, because of the optics, you're going to take your helmets off and you're going to get SWAT out of here. And no less than a few minutes later, officer gets injured because somebody threw something. And if he would have had his helmet on, he would have been protected. But because of optics, the helmets were ordered to be taken off, and here we are.
Yeah, Jesse, and admittedly, I'm pretty personal to this. We do talk about cowardly leadership a lot. We talk about leadership in our writings and our podcasts and our training. And so I've had dozens and dozens of Minneapolis officers reach out to me. And so I'm very well aware of a lot of these issues you're talking about. And I feel for the officers there because they are literally being led by the weakest of the weak in our profession. And, and every time you say that, I know everything is masked in politics, right? Everybody wants to take everything that's said or seen through a lens of politics. And I want to assure everybody listening to this, this is not politics, okay? What you're saying is what you're hearing, is what you're seeing. What I'm saying is what I have heard and seen for many, many years now. I mean, myself and Jacob Fry go all the way back to 2015. You can read about it in my book, long before George Floyd. That guy's been acting like a buffoon for many, many years. And so it's not the protest. It's not the environment of the crime. You're telling me the stress is coming from the decisions from leaders.
Absolutely, 100% internally, and the guys are just beat down, and their gas tanks are on empty. We came here and we got this mobile response unit ready with snacks and water, and we truly didn't know whether we were going to have one person show up or 500. We didn't know, and we sent out our email to the union membership, and within minutes we had people at our mobile response unit, and they just want to talk. They just want to be heard, and they wanted it confidential. And the fact their peer team, nobody trusts their internal peer team because it's going to get back to admin, etc. And us being independent, confidential, it's beautiful for that fact. But it's been steady, and the impact has been amazing. And we look forward to the next several days here to be able to make those additional connections. We were at a roll call this morning, and you want to talk about staffing. Roll call for the busiest, most dangerous precinct in Minneapolis, and there was 7 officers and a sergeant with 12 open shifts. 2 of those shifts had been signed up for overtime by a lieutenant and an officer, and they didn't show up for overtime. So you have more open shifts than you have cops.
I want people to understand what that means, and we've already seen. I mean, Alpha News did a documentary on the number of officers that were killed in that area. That's what this causes. Yes, there's a wellness aspect. There's a stress aspect. Officers are not going to make it to retirement with those kind of open shifts and working. But it's a dangerous aspect. This is not a job that you can come to work fatigued, tired, worried about what the decisions leaders are making. It's going to create danger because Minneapolis is a dangerous city. It's like a lot of big cities. And so I'm so glad you're there, Jesse, to kind of raise awareness because, quite frankly, the media in this country deserves a reckoning, because the stories you're telling me are the stories the media there in Minneapolis could tell. Alpha News is really the only thing you can kind of get any honesty from, because they talk to a lot of these individuals. And so I'm so thankful for that. So let me ask you this. You went to squad meeting. Have you been welcome inside MPD buildings to talk to folks?
Without a question. And I said it this morning. We have been in communication with one of their members. The union leadership here has been amazing. The president, vice president, both have welcomed us with open arms. Our mobile response unit, is rehabbed available to them, and they sent out the flyer to their membership, which is all the MPD guys. So we made contact there, and we were just texting and calling this morning. Hey, where do we go? And we walk up, and literally, not joking you, 5:30 or 6 o'clock this morning, we're walking up to the back door of the MPD, and these guys welcome us with open arms, and literally handshakes and just thankful that we're there. And immediately we got, within an hour of getting to the mobile response unit, we had one of them in our room, and just able to have that peer on run with them. So.
Incredible. So what message would you give other officers across the country that aren't seeing this? What warning signs should you give them? Because obviously Minneapolis is here. Other than a reckoning of leadership and real courage coming into that city, this is the environment that they're in, unfortunately. But what I try to tell people is these things don't just get isolated. You've got to be on guard for cowards in leadership wherever you are. So what warning sign would you tell them that may be listening outside of Minneapolis?
So yeah, absolutely. So the part that I would say is from small agencies all the way up to major agencies, these decisions, it's mindset. And the mindset is it's not personal to you. These decisions are being made because of politics and, my contract's coming up, and these certain things. Remember that you drive you. Yeah, politics have some influence. Politics have some things, and policymakers, as a former one of those, they have some drive. But make sure that you are staying true to you. And there's resources available to you anywhere in the country. You can reach out to the Wounded Blue or other resources to get it out. I will tell you, weak leaders are going to ruin agencies, and we're seeing that first and center. I posted something earlier today. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department last night had a object thrown at an officer. They got hit, and because that agency's leadership allows those officers to act, it was quarreled within minutes. 11 people were taken into custody within minutes. That officer was safeguarded, and the Strip, which is a tourist area, major metropolitan area, the Strip was safe, and order was restored immediately because those officers are empowered to take action swift and hold those accountable accordingly. So just make sure that you know that you can do that. And God bless each and every one of you that put on the uniform every day. And remember why you raised your hand to begin with. You didn't swear an oath to that chief or sheriff. You swore an oath to the people that you were protecting and to the name on your name badge. So make sure that you hold true to that.
Jesse, I can't thank you enough, and the Wounded Blue being there. This is a story and a message and a delivery to those officers that they so desperately need. Please pass on from us to them that we're thinking about them, and obviously if they see our reading and writing, we're always defending them for what they're doing. How can people reach out to the Wounded Blue? How can people reach out to you, and how can they donate to this great cause?
Absolutely. So all of our information is available at thewoundedblue.org. And it's our website. It's got all the information you can about us. There's a donate link directly available there at thewoundedblue.org. Officers can reach out to us via our text line at 877-810-0911. If you text the word blue to 877-810-0911, you'll be able to get to us confidentially and immediately. Our Warrior Talk line is available 24 hours a day, answered by peers that have been on the job or are currently in the job and that have been injured and disabled in the line of duty and understand the depths of what can happen because of this career. And that Warrior Talk line is 833-TWB-TALK, and that number is 833-TWB-TALK, 833-892-8255. So please reach out to us 24/7. Are here for you. Absolutely. Law officers, an amazing partner, courageous police leaders, an amazing partner. And we truly appreciate all you do for us, Travis, all you do for American law enforcement. And the Wounded Blue is here for all of you.
We'll get all that in the show notes and those numbers in the show notes. Jesse Watts, Executive Director of the Wounded Blue, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, sir.
Take care, sir. Thank you.